On the 18th of December 1940, Hitler signed Directive Number 21, Operation Barbarossa, his plan to invade the Soviet Union. Less than 2 weeks later, Stalin received information about Barbarossa from his agents in Europe. Soon after, the intelligence was confirmed by Stalin's key spy in Japan, Richard Sorge. Sorge was among the most clever and fearless spies of World War II. The information he sent back to Russia was priceless and instrumental in changing the outcome of the war. In 1933, Sorge went to Germany on a secret mission. He joined the Nazi Party and started working for one of the major German daily newspapers, the Frankfurter Zeitung. Shortly thereafter, he was sent to Japan as the paper's Asian correspondent. In Tokyo, Richard Sorge became a frequent and welcome visitor at the German embassy. In 1939, the German ambassador to Japan, General Agen Otto, appointed Sorge the official press attaché of the embassy. The two men became close friends. By that time, Sorge had a well-functioning operation. His agents infiltrated the highest echelons of military and political power in Japan. The German ambassador in Tokyo, General Otto, got a confirmation from von Ribbentrop that Germany would invade in the second part of June. There is no doubt that this information is true. Signed, Ramsay. A few days later, Sorge sent another cable. The message was brief. The war will start on June 22, 1941. Moscow replied, "We doubt the authenticity of your information." Now Sorge was desperate, even insistent. The fate of millions hung in the balance. He sent yet another cable to Stalin. It carried his most chilling message. "I repeat, 9 armies incorporating 150 divisions will invade the Soviet Union, crossing the border on June 22nd. Stalin was deaf to all pleas, blind to the reports that lay before him. On the 22nd of June, 1941, Hitler's armies struck. It was a devastating attack. Stalin turned to his spy masters for help, and he had one very crucial question for them. By the end of October 1941, Hitler's army was closing in on Moscow. Stalin's defenses were further weakened by fear of a Japanese strike in Siberia. Army divisions badly needed to defend Moscow were tied down in the Far East to face a possible Japanese attack. The Japanese were still contemplating where to strike next, at the Soviets in Siberia or at the British and Americans in Southeast Asia. The key Soviet spy in Japan, Richard Sorge, had many agents and friends close to the Japanese government. For months he'd been trying to convince them that the Japanese would be much better off getting hold of the precious resources of tin, rubber, and oil in Southeast Asia, rather than face a difficult winter campaign in Siberia. In time, Sorge learned that Japan had abandoned all plans to attack the Soviet Union. This was the news Stalin had been waiting for. Having correctly predicted the German invasion, Sorge had the ear of Moscow. On November 7, 1941, on the 24th anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution, the fresh Russian troops from Siberia paraded through Moscow. Straight from the parade, they marched to the front line, a mere 40 kilometers from Red Square. Outside Moscow, the German advance ground to a halt. It was their first defeat in the Second World War.
Ozaki! Mr. Ozaki, allow me to introduce Dr. Richard Sorge of the Frankfurter Zeitung.
Hotsumi Ozaki, the Asahi newspaper. Hotsumi Ozaki, the Asahi newspaper.
Richard Sorge. Glad to meet you.
Mr. Ozaki has better insight into the conflict with China than Konoe.
It was decided at the Imperial Conference negotiations with the United States will continue until the end of October.
Really?
Winter is near. Remember what happened to Napoleon.
Japan won't invade Siberia.
Hotsumi Ozaki, the Asahi newspaper. Hotsumi Ozaki, the Asahi newspaper.